Hi motorcyclists, my name's James, I'm from Tizwaz, and today we're going to talk about my RST Paragon 5 waterproof textile suit. I said don't aim for my neck. So now that Nate and Em are done chucking pint glasses of water at me, I can tell you that I'm still absolutely bone dry under here. And that is purely because of this RST Paragon 5 suit. Now this is last season's suit. And you know, Nate and I, we've been talking about doing some gear reviews, but the problem is when you buy a new textile jacket or trousers or whatever, it's really waterproof for, you know, the first few months, and then the proofer starts to wear off and you really start to see what it's like. I've had this for over a year and I've pretty much lived in it for a year, the exception being hot sunny days when I'm usually in my Kevlar gear. And it's still performing, you know, really well. You know, you saw all the water beading up on it and things. And part of that, you know, it is because it's a very well made garment, but you know, no matter what you buy, you need to keep on top of your waterproofing and your reproofing, otherwise it will start leaking. So every once in a while, just give it a quick spray. So the Paragon 5, I've owned the suit for about a year, like I said, and before that I used to use slightly cheaper stuff. I'd usually buy second-hand, and that's because things like leather and Kevlar I find very exciting and I don't mind spending money on it. But you know, when you start talking about wet weather gear, it's not as interesting or cool. So I'd always just buy, you know, second-hand budget kind of kit, and then it'd be leaky within a month, and then I'd get cold and I'd get wet. It was actually riding back from seeing a mate up in Manchester. I rode from Manchester to the south coast where I live, and it was about 2 degrees and lashing it down with rain all the way home. And I was absolutely soaked by the time I left Manchester. So by the time I'd gotten home, I'd pretty much decided that I was going to buy some nicer kit and kind of go up the food chain, you know, from sort of like 40–50 pound trousers to, you know, 250 pound garments. And I think that's roughly how much this Paragon suit cost me at the time. It's roughly 500 for your jacket and trousers. So I'd expect kind of this year's model to retail for about the same. So what I like about this Paragon 5 suit, well, firstly, it's very well made, you know, and we've come to expect that from RST. Like I tell a lot of my learners, so I'm a bike instructor, you know, RST is kind of like premium quality, but not so much premium price. And you know, really for a £500 suit, this is really good and really waterproof, very versatile. So first thing that I noticed when I put it on, D30 armour. And if you don't know what D30 is, it's the squishy armour that kind of moulds to you when you're riding, and it feels like it's not really going to protect you. It feels like memory foam, but when it takes an impact it firms up, and I can actually vouch for that because I was playing with a sample bit of D30 when it first came out, and I got one of my learners to hold it and I punched it and I nearly broke my hand. So it does firm up on impact, and this stuff is fully armoured with D30. So again, I'd expect this season's gear, when it finally comes out and gets made, to be fully kitted out with D30. Now waterproofing, it's really good, really waterproof. Obviously you've seen the demonstration with the pint glasses, and as long as you keep on top of your reproofing, you shouldn't have too many issues with it. It's really well ventilated as well. I've got zips on the trousers to give me some leg ventilation, and then I've got another vent up here, and I've got a vent on my arm, and I've got another vent there. So really it's quite good for like the ride I've had today, for example, over to the Steep Riders headquarters. It took me almost 2 hours, and I've kind of had a little bit of a variety of weather on the way. I've had sort of like hot and muggy and overcast and torrential downpours, and really if you're riding in kind of like a mix of conditions like that, a suit like this will suit you absolutely down to the ground. You can open up the vents when it's warmer, shut them when it's colder, job's a good one. On the inside, like pretty much every bike gear, you got net. For some reason this is high vis. It's confusing, isn't it? You'd think that the high vis should be on the outside to make you visible, but for some reason RST decided to put it on the inside. My guess would be they probably had an awful lot of this kind of meshy high vis stuff left over from something else, or could get it cheap and went, right, that'll do, let's stick that in the Paragon. You've also got a quilted liner, which I don't have in at the moment because it is summer. Longevity seems to be where this kit really comes into its own. Now I am a bike instructor and I'm a crazy high mileage rider. This is in part because of my job, also because I just point blank refuse to own a car, and also I've got a girlfriend at the opposite end of the country. I couldn't find anyone any closer to go out with me, so every time I see her, we're talking a 460 mile round trip just for me to go and see the missus. So as a result, I'm doing at least 30,000 miles every single year, which is quite a lot for a motorcyclist. And as a result, I find that I wear through kit at an alarming rate. Like if I buy a new pair of summer gloves at the start of the summer, come October, I'll have worn through the palm and they'll need to go in the bin and I'll need to get a new pair. And you know, with this Paragon suit, I've owned it for a year, I've lived in it for a year, and it's still fine. You know, I've had to put it through the wash a couple of times, it got a little bit smelly. But you know, the fabric's still in good condition, it's not kind of furring up and bobbling. The membrane underneath is still good, so it's not turned all leaky and horrible yet. And you know, for something that I've done this many miles in, I am really, really, really impressed. Now, another feature I wanted to talk about with this jacket is the cuff. We've actually got a twin cuff going on under here. So the idea being, when you put your gloves on, you put your glove over that little silk cuff, and then this cuff goes over the top, and it almost makes like a hermetic waterproof seal. And I do find that that does keep a lot of the rain out of my glove quite nicely. Obviously a traditional winter glove goes over the top of your garment, and that way all the water runs down your sleeve into your glove cuff, but having the twin cuff kind of prevents that from happening. The only downside to this, it can be a little bit fiddly, and a lot of the time when it is quite bad weather, I use Merlin Outlast gloves, which have got a twin cuff on them, and when I wear them I tend to go glove cuff, jacket cuff, and then the other glove cuff, and then the jacket over the top. So I've got my learners waiting ready to go, and I'm spending 20 minutes fiddling around with my gloves. But when you have got them on and it's all done up properly, then you are really nicely waterproof. What I use this suit for, it's kind of my general purpose, like winter gear. When I'm in the summer, I'm usually in Kevlar jeans and a lightweight sort of ventilated leather jacket, or when it gets a little bit warmer, then I'm really into like my Kevlar hoodies and Kevlar shirts and things. And you know, I've kitted all mine out with D30 armour as well, so it is, you know, proper good protection in a lightweight kind of summery package. So this is like my sort of winter and bad weather kit. Now the thing is with your textile gear, if you're a new rider, this is probably quite important for you. When you go to the shop or you buy something off the internet, they will always say waterproof. Now the first thing we need to understand is that something can't be 100% waterproof and 100% breathable. Now for something to be waterproof and breathable, what they do is they make a weave, a very, very tight knit weave. The idea being the perspiration, your sweat, is in very, very kind of small, it's like steam molecules. So they make the holes in the garment big enough for your sweat to escape, but not big enough for the bigger, heavier raindrops to get through. Now this works fine up until a point, and it's what I tend to call the saturation point. When the garment's saturated, it then just tends to start leaking a little bit. And that's purely because it is a weave, and as things get older, the weave tends to come apart a little bit and fray slightly, and then you wind up with a really, really leaky garment. Now this RST stuff, like I said, I kept on top of my reproofing. And hence, as a result, it beads up nicely when you chuck pints of water at me. And really, I mean, if you're commuting, you know, you're probably going to ride, what, half an hour a day? You know, that's what most normal people will do, you know, on their daily ride to work or ride to see your mates or whatever. For me, you know, I get up in the morning, I put this suit on, and sometimes in it 8, 9, 10 hours at a time. Particularly if I go and see my girlfriend at the other end of the country after I finished work as well. You know, that's a really long day. And you know, I find that sort of the first few hours in the rain, this will hold up, but like anything, when it hits that saturation point, then it does start leaking. So if you are going to go out and do really long rides in really bad weather, you're going to need to get yourself one of those plastic non-breathable rain suits that goes over the top of everything. The one I use is a Richer Typhoon rain suit, and as of yet I haven't actually got wet in it. Thing is with these rain suits, you know, you think, oh well, why don't you wear it all the time? A couple of reasons. One, they're ugly and they flap around when you're riding and it's really, really annoying. And two, because it's not breathable, that means it's 100% waterproof. So it will get a little bit clammy underneath, but like I said, I save that for when it's really, really bad weather, and in that case you don't really care too much about breathability, you're just trying to keep the rain off you. Okay, well thanks for watching guys, it's about all I've got to say on this suit. Obviously, how much can I talk about a jacket and a pair of trousers? And hopefully, you know, if you are a new rider, you're understanding a little bit more about how to stay dry and warm when you're on a motorbike. Thanks for watching, we'll be back with some more bike reviews and content later.
Cool.